All right, so if you woke up this morning and your muscles were aching from treading water yesterday because it rained a lot yesterday, welcome to the Dave Elswick Show for a Monday. We've got the Bible guys here for the first hour. We're looking forward to talking to Scott, Pastor Scott, and talking to Pastor Billy to start off the show today. And we want to start off with something that's coming up, I think, this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a night to celebrate Israel.
That's right.
Okay, yeah. And that what is Saturday night?
No, it's on Sunday.
Sunday, okay.
Sunday night at 6 o'clock. That'll be happening at 701 Napa Valley Drive, West Little Rock, and at Agape Church.
Okay, I'll be there. The big speaker is the guy who was the commander of the Entebbe raid.
That's right.
That, if you're a former military, we all studied while we were in the military because it was just hands-on, one of the ballsiest moves that had ever been undertaken to, get those hostages out of the Entebbe airport. Idi Amin wasn't helping. No. He was being nothing but a pain in the you-know-where. And so these guys, practiced and practiced and practiced. And they literally landed in a C-130 with their engines going in their Jeeps. And the back end opened up and they reversed and came out on the airstrip and went to the airport and rescued a lot of people that had been held for quite some time.
I think it was like 102 people.
Yeah, and there was only one fatality of the IDF, and that was Benjamin Netanyahu's brother, who was killed in the operation. I think he was a colonel at the time, in fact, which shows you that the higher echelon people in IDF go with the grunt, so to speak, and to take care of business when it needs to be taken care of.
Yeah. It's going to be a great night. So I'm encourage anybody who would like to express a appreciation for the Jewish contribution to the Christian faith to be there. Even though our guest speaker is this man who was a part of the Entebbe raid, it's not a military conference of any sort, but it is a way that we as believers can actually express our gratitude for the Jewish contribution to the Christian faith. And it's a biblical command that we do.
It's a mandate.
It is. There's a verse of scripture that, in Romans chapter 15, in verse 27, it says, one second. And it pleased them indeed, for they are their debtors. For if the Gentiles have been partakers of the Jews' spiritual things, it is their duty to minister to them out of their material things. Mm-hmm. So as believers, if we've received anything from the Jews' spiritual things, and if you pause for a moment and ask yourself, have we done that? The answer would be, duh.
Your Messiah is a Jew.
Yes. Jesus was a Jew. And don't fall for that rock and roll BS that's out there now that there aren't any real Jews left.
Oh, yeah. Asinine. So everything that we have comes from the Jewish people, whether you're talking about the Torah, or whether you're talking about the prophets, or whether you're talking about the writings, or whether you're talking about the actual patriarchs or
the prophets.
Everything that we have. So if the Gentiles have received anything of the Jews' spiritual things, it is our duty to communicate to them out of our natural things. I think that word duty is a very important one. This is not an optional thing.
Right.
It's a duty that we have. And so what we've done is we've created an event to where you can fulfill this command. You actually have the ability to fulfill the command of materially blessing Israel. And so that happens on Sunday night at 6 o'clock at Agape Church, 701 Napa Valley Drive.
Okay, and there'll be a lot of different people that's going to be there. Justin Hillman is going to be there. He's the president of the Jewish Federation, who you hear every Thursday here on the Dave Elswick Show. Either Justin or Enrico is here, since Enrico has had some surgery on his eyes. We're giving him some time off, and We're still paying him what we pay him, which is nothing, and he's on with us when he can now. So we're waiting for him to heal up. But since he's off, Justin's coming on.
That's great. We should be having several of our local state senators, representatives, constitutional officers, a host of pastors from different parts of the state, and of course our local congregation, our Messianic congregation, as well as our Sunday congregation. So, and hopefully other churches will participate and will come and join us. It's time that we stop acting like these are optional extras.
Yeah.
That we just get to choose if we want to.
Is that a ticketed event that we need to get tickets for?
Nope. So you can, if you want to register your attendance, you can go on to aclr.org and you could register, but you don't have to register. You don't have to. There's no cost. You just show up and show your support. Now I will say this: at the end of the service, we will receive a collection.
Okay.
And this collection will go to aid the Jewish community. Primarily, what the money is going to be going to is it's going to be aiding all of the Jewish people that are now have fled from the Lebanon border, and the South is being flooded with them having to put. They're not refugees, what we call them. They're just displaced people. And they're having to feed them and house them and take care of them while the Lebanon and Hezbollah are firing on them. So a lot of it will go towards that, and then some of the money will also go to our local Jewish Federation here in Arkansas as well.
Good.
Yeah,
it's a good event to attend. You'll learn a lot, and you'll get to hear from the special guest. Like I said, I have, other than Moshe Dayan, he's probably the number one IDF guy that I would really want to hear from. Can't hear from Moshe Dayan anymore because he's gone to be with the Lord. But I tell you, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Moshe Dayan.
Did you really?
Yeah. Do you? Well, you
guys. Because of the cool eye patch?
Yeah. I mean, you guys, I don't think you guys, maybe even some of you not even remember during the 6 Day War.
No.
And, him in his tank. And, they thought that Israel was just going to get mashed by the Arabs. Because, Nasser had a large military in Egypt at that time. He had a large armor contingent at that time. And in armor, they were like outgunned 5-1 or something. I mean, incredible. And what did the Israeli do? They attacked.
Yeah.
They attacked. They caught them completely with their pants down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And destroyed them.
It's one of those things. I have modeled Israel since 1948 on several occasions in various war games. And here is the thing that you need to know. Israel should not exist.
No, they should have lost every time they fought.
Every engagement. When you model it out, just looking at the numbers, every engagement, they lose.
My predecessor at Agape Church, the pastor who was before me.
It was Happy, right?
Yeah, Happy Caldwell. So he this is many, many years ago, but back when he turned 50 years old, the church gave him a gift, and they sent him to West Point to the War College for lectures. So basically, I guess once a year, the West Point opens up like a class for CEOs all over the country, and they go there. And so he wound up at this class at West Point with all these CEOs and these generals and colonels and admirals all giving these speeches.
There's a Jewish guy that's considered really smart that they've got.
Oh, you really?
Point. Yeah.
Okay. So he's going through all these, and they're just going through all these. What they do, they study every war ever fought, every battle, every skirmish. They analyze it, from Dan to Beersheba, from the beginning to the end. And he's listening, and he listened all day long, and then it had a Q&A time. And so he asked the question. He said, "I've listened all day long. It's been great, been fascinating. However, of all the battles you guys talked about, I've noticed that no one has mentioned any of the wars of Israel. And is there a reason why that might be? Could you elaborate?" And they all the generals and people looked at each other, and finally one of them got up and said, "Well, that's true. We haven't. And the reason we haven't,
they should have lost,
is because there's no one up here who can explain any of the wars of Israel, because there's no way. There's no way we can apply any of our strategy or our knowledge to any of the battles of Israel and explain how they won. So Israel is what we put it in the category. We file it in a I think they said we put it in a file called miraculous, and we leave it there because you cannot, with all the war brain power up here, we cannot explain any of it.
Yeah, there are 2.3 billion Muslims in the world. There are 14 million Jews in Israel or something. It should be an absolute slaughter, and God just doesn't allow that to happen. So
I've heard an old saying saying, if you want to know, a proof of God, look to Israel.
Israel is the proof.
There is a verse of scripture about when people talk about one of the things that Jesus was doing. I think most people know the Bible says, and for this cause, or for this reason, the Son of God was manifest that he might destroy the works of the devil. So when Jesus came to obliterate sin, take care of the things that the devil was doing, and to bring in salvation to the world. But there's also something else that he did that not a lot of people talk about, and that's found in Romans 15, verse 8, starting in verse 8, and it says this: "Now I say to you that Jesus Christ has become a servant to the circumcision, that is the Jews, for the truth of God." And this is the part here, to confirm the promises that were made to the fathers, and that the Gentiles might glorify him for his mercy, as it is written. So one of the reasons why Messiah came was to confirm the promises that had been made to the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And one of those promises were, this land is yours for an everlasting possession. And so Jesus came to confirm those promises. And I think if you ask most people, what is the sign of this eternal promise? And I think we have to pay attention to the fact that it says this is an everlasting possession. Everlasting means everlasting. There's not an end to it. And when God gave that promise to Abraham, he told him, he said, this is the sign or the token of the covenant. It's the circumcision. So Abraham was circumcised, and this was to show that the land belonged to him. That was the token of the covenant. It's like in the past, God put a bow in the sky and said, that's the token of the covenant, that I'll never flood the earth again. This is going to be the token that the land belongs to you, and it was a circumcision. That's why Jewish males are circumcised. To every Jewish male, more or less reaffirms the covenant of land that was given. And so Jesus comes along, and we all know that Jesus shed blood on the last day of his life for the new covenant. But what most people don't think about is the fact that he also shed blood twice in his life for covenant. Once on the cross, but the other time was on the 8th day of his life, when the same blood that saved our soul dripped from his foreskin when he was circumcised, that ratified the covenant that the land belongs to Israel for an everlasting covenant, because that was the sign of the circumcision confirmed that. So Jesus' blood was shed twice for covenant, once on the 8th day, once on the last day, both confirming covenant. This is what it goes to here in Romans 15, when he came to confirm the promises made to the fathers. So to go against the idea of the land belonging to Israel, or they have a divine right, is really to go against the blood of Jesus, because Jesus' blood was shed to ratify that covenant. It's a big deal.
It's something that everybody should understand. Every Christian should absolutely understand.
Absolutely. And it'll be telling to see how many people that we have invited actually show up to do that. And I pray, we've not advertised this in our traditional way of doing it, because we've been requested not to. I'd be interested to see how many actually show up to do this. I'm praying that I'm not disappointed.
All right, we got to get a break in. It is 20 minutes after 7. It is a Monday. Yesterday was a waterlogged Sunday. I'm just telling you, in Cabot, it rained and rained and rained yesterday. It was unbelievable how much. What was bad is that I was supposed to have a guy come out and cut my lawn, and
he didn't show.
Well, no, he didn't, because the morning was dry as a bone. But I guess it was about 1:30. It's as if somebody pulled a zipper in the sky, and it just poured down rain.
Yeah, I'll have to cancel my guy this week for sure. The yard is just mushy right now, so
it's supposed to keep it doing it today too. Later on today.
And I've already been notified again that if it rains, Dave, we won't be there today. We said yesterday we'd be there today. We may not be there today. We may not be there until Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And so, we just go with the way it is.
Right.
The lawn will have to look shaggy.
Rain is a blessing.
Yes,
rain
it is.
And
we've needed some rain. Yeah. Well-needed rain. 7:21. We'll be back right after these.
Have you looked at the...
All right, we're back with you here on the Dave Elswick Show. The Bible guys are here. Scott is here, Pastor Scott from Agape Church. He's a senior pastor there. Billy is here. Billy is Hebraic pastor for the Hebraic services along with Steve Hess on Saturday. So it's good to have you guys all both with us. Steve's not here. I didn't know whether he was making things up or he really was in Dallas at the book suppository. Not suppository. That's what it was. Yeah, repository. Yeah, the repository.
Rough is what that is. It's rough.
We need a definition of a book suppository.
That's what he said. And I wrote back, LOL. All right. But anyway, bottom line is, I guess he's down checking out the library.
His wife's got family down there, and they make an annual trip down there.
Oh, so do they?
It's that time of the year.
They make the trek.
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully, if things are working with the federal government, which he does, he'll be back with us next week.
Yep.
So I look forward to having him with us. Now, Scott, during the break, asked a very, very just cut to the chase question. And he said, why doesn't Trump finish this whole thing off in Iran? And to give you an answer, I cannot give you an answer. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Something must be happening behind the scenes because there's too many people in the Trump administration that want the Iranian regime gone.
I mean, this morning that was the same thing I was thinking, Dave. I was literally putting my makeup on, and I was like watching the news from yesterday, last night, and they were talking about how they hit again, and Trump's saying they need to get back to the table. Enough! It's enough. I'm tired of hearing it every day.
Yeah,
it's time to take action.
I'm really with you. I mean, Trump has basically said a 2-week assault would be enough to break the back of the Iranians. I want to know why they just don't go ahead and break the backs of the Iranians.
Because there would be American lives lost. You can't do war without losing some people, and the Americans have a very, very low appetite for that right now.
That's why we would have lost World War II if you people had been alive back in the 40s. And as much as I hate to say it, you're going to have to push past midterms before we could do something like that because he's got nothing to lose after that. Right now, if he pushes in with boots on the ground, the midterms are essentially over. Oh, so you think that it's going to take troops on the ground now to finish this over?
I do.
Okay.
I've said that since day one. You can't fight a war in that nation from the air only.
And I agree with you. And in fact, most generals in the Air Force will agree with you.
But I mean, we have a ceasefire, and I'm sorry, but
if
they fire one drone, it's no longer a ceasefire.
Yeah.
And you can keep trying to redefine it all you want, and you're lying to yourself and you're gaslighting people. If they fire at you, then you return with 7 volleys from yourself, and you keep on doing that.
Well, and part of what I don't understand is we can see on the satellite images that they're rebuilding their underground bunkers that we destroyed, and they're building new ones. And it's like, well, if we're going to have something to say in the combat, perhaps when they fire at us, we just go ahead and eliminate those. It's like, well, you shot at us again. We told you not to. So now that stuff you're building, we're just going to go away again. So I don't know. At this point, I can't.
And where are they getting the money to do it? If supposedly, their economy is broken, yet they're building new stuff, really, where are you getting the money to do that? Where are your facilities? Where are you producing the concrete from? I mean, I don't get it. If we could stop all of that very quickly with another 10 days of airstrikes. It wouldn't even take 10 days, I don't think. But, as long as you're going to let them keep on doing what they're doing, then this just drags out. So you're right, Dave. I think they must know something that we don't know. But if you fired 10 ballistic missiles at our chief ally, why has there not been a response from the United States? Israel did, and then Trump says, "I'm ticked off that Israel's doing that." Really, what would happen if Mexico fired 10 ballistic missiles at us? What would we do? I'm sorry, I'm just really getting tired of.
We would have a 51st state. That's what would happen.
I'm really, I got a red line too.
Yeah,
and he did say the red line was if you fire at Saudi Arabia or whatever. Well, they fired, so let's do something. I'm getting a bit irritated with this.
I understand. I think most Americans are as well, even Trump supporters, people who voted for Trump. I know I'm tired of it now.
Yeah. I think the big shock will probably come in another 30-ish days. Oil reserves are going to hit an all-time low in the next 30 days. And if you don't like your gas prices now, they're about to get a lot worse. So,
see, that's another thing I don't understand. If we now we have more oil than Saudi Arabia, we are a net exporter of oil. This should not be affecting us whatsoever. He said we don't get any of our oil from over there. So I don't know why in the world it affects us.
OPEC.
It's all tied together because it is a worldwide commodity.
Well, and the big thing is that the oil that we produce here in the United States cannot be refined here in the United States. We actually have to send that oil to Europe to be refined.
It's
and
a stupid mistake.
Well, when we built all of our facilities back in the 40s and 50s, that was the oil we had. So,
all right, we got to get to Bill O'Reilly. Let's do that right now. It's a Monday. It's 7:34. The Bible guys are here. Last week, Billy talked a lot about AI.
I did.
And a person called in and asked about Perplexity AI. Uh-huh. And what in the heck was it? And what did Billy think about it? Well, he told you he'd have you an answer today, and here it is.
Yeah. So, and I mentioned last week I had bumped against Perplexity AI at some point, maybe a year ago or so, and it was not the tool I needed. And I think that's the first statement I need to make there. There are lots of AI tools out there, and they all kind of do something a little different. And what you're going to have to do, because it's a question I get all the time, well, which AI should I be using? Well, what do you want to accomplish? Because without that answer, I can't answer the first question, right? So I promised I'd go away and look at Perplexity AI. I've done that. I had mentioned I'd bumped across it a year ago or so, maybe a little longer than that at this point. And I went back to look at it and went, oh, I know why I didn't end up purchasing that particular tool, subscribe to that particular tool, because you subscribe to everything these days. And it's because it's a deep research tool. So it's almost like a Google on steroids, except that it's actually going out and talking to the other AIs, and it's doing a lot of research for you. I don't have that particular need in my life. I'm not doing a lot of math research. I'm not doing a lot of scientific research. I'm not doing a lot of those types of high-end research, which I think is probably where Perplexity shines best. If I was working on the protein folding stuff that we're working on, I might be using Perplexity. If I was trying to solve the Erdos problems, I might be poking at Perplexity. But for what I do, and I think probably for what 90% of us are doing, I think Perplexity is probably more research than most of us need. That being said, among those who use it and have those needs, it is rated very highly. So if that is a need you have to do really deep research, Perplexity might be a tool. I think it's $19.95 a month, I think is what they're charging for that one. Like I said, it's not one that I'm paying for these days, but I think I bumped across their subscription page, and I think it was $20 a month. So
that's the one to go to if you're in college and you need a research paper to be written.
Well, if I was going to advise a single tool for college students, because it's something my daughter runs into constantly, what I would actually advise you to go subscribe to is a paper checker. because all the teachers and professors use them these days. When you turn in your paper, they hand it to an AI and go, was this paper written by AI? And my daughter writes in such a style. Now, I talk to her constantly, so I know the research she's doing. I know the paper she's writing. I'm reading her drafts because Dad's pretty good at grammar, even though most of the time I don't sound like it. So she'll send me her work. So I know she's doing the work, but every paper she turns in, her teacher comes back and says, the AI says this was written by AI. And she almost got expelled last year as a result. So she and her professors worked out this thing. So now the tool will say this was written by AI, and she hands them the entire packet of here's all my research, here are my early drafts, et cetera, and then they grade her paper. But if I were going to advise students, because I do not personally know a professor or teacher right now who's not using an AI checker for papers that are turned in. So I would be running anything that I'm writing against one of those and go, hey, am I about to get dinged by a professor? Oh, yes, I am. I should probably, and then I would just ask the AI, what do I need to do to this to make it not sound like it was written by AI? We're in this kind of war right now. And part of the problem is this is all cutting edge technology. So the professor hands the paper to AI, and AI comes back and goes, this looks like AI, and they don't know how. They just have to trust the tool, right? I mean, I get into a car. Do I understand? That's a bad example. I do understand internal combustion, but the vast majority of us don't understand how internal combustion happens, but we know how to drive the car. Well, AI right now is very much like that. The percentage of people who actually understands what's going on with AI is tiny compared to those of us who are using AI every day. So, yeah, it's not a tool that I require. It may be a tool that you require, caller, if you're doing, because you mentioned you were doing some research. So it might be a tool that could help you out there. I would probably, for the vast majority of people, if you're looking to spend that $10 or $20 a month, depending on which tools we're talking about, I would probably be looking for something a little more general. I know that the vast majority of us are doing more generalized things these days with AI. We're not doing heavy research like that. We're not doing deep scientific work. So just my 2 cents. How's that?
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
I think you answered it well, because, and don't use it for just to write your school papers.
Nope.
Because it will write it
You
better
will get
than
enough.
you could ever
Yes.
hope of writing it, and probably would use information that you would not even find.
Yeah, and we
on
still
the
have a
internet.
problem with hallucination. And we have seen law firms, big law firms, with egg on their face because they've had AI write a brief, and the AI, in a brief, you've got to list all the cases, that the case law that you referenced.
You got a footnote everything.
Yeah, and we have found several instances where AI is just making up a case to support its position, and somebody will be going through this going, I've never heard of this particular case, and it's got groundbreaking law in it. I should go read it. Wait, this does not exist. And when your company makes the front page of the Wall Street Journal because your AI made something up, you should probably be checking your AI. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because you're going to be hiding if you don't.
Yeah.
I was using the AI for. Does that sound okay to you?
I don't hear you at all.
All right.
Hello.
We got his mic hot.
Are you hearing
There
him?
you are.
Hello.
No, I'm not hearing you.
Okay.
There you
you
are.
are.
We got him now.
So
Okay.
so I was using AI to do some research the other day, and it was some Talmudic research I was doing. I was looking for some references in the Talmud, and so the AI quickly spit out these quotes for me, gave the references and all that, and I was like, that doesn't even sound right.
Doesn't feel right. Yeah.
And I said, are you sure about that quote there? And it goes, well, I just kind of put a few ideas together they had there, but they gave it to me as if it was an actual quote.
Right.
And it just basically kind of merged several different comments into one nice quote, but it wasn't a quote. It was a few ideas it crammed together, but it gave me a reference to it and everything else. Yeah. So I'm like, if you're using it even for research that's not folding folding enzymes or whatever it's doing, then you need to be very careful about it. I mean, it'll tell you stuff you want to hear sometimes.
Yeah. And it's the reason I choose so the AIs The big three. You've got Claude, you've got ChatGPT, you've got Grok, but they have different. I'm going to hate to use this word. They've got different personalities.
Yeah.
Some of them are very eager to please, and therefore they will give you an answer instead of going, "I don't know. There's no information about this." They'll just make stuff up.
They don't want to hurt your feelings,
right? They'll just make stuff up. And that is dangerous. And it's the reason that I use the AI suite that I use. I'm trying to avoid. I don't like hallucinations. I'm sorry. I don't want to check everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's the point of having it if you have to go back and
it can
check everything?
It can still get you. I start saying 90%, maybe 85% of the way there. And then I start checking references to make sure everything is done. I use it. Primarily, what I'm using AI these days for creative efforts, and for creative efforts, it's perfectly good. I'm making stuff up anyway, right? That's creation. So that's not a problem. If I were doing deep research, I would be very, very careful. I would be using something that is specifically geared for doing research, and the chat bots aren't that, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
All right. Beware. You've been forewarned.
Yes.
So it's to be forearmed. So you have been told.
I was going back to this again. I asked Grok. I said, "So why is it that Israel is so hated by its neighbors?" Just to see what it would say, and it gave me this list of possibilities. And one of them said was jealousy because of all the abundance of oil Israel has. Yeah. And I stopped it and I said, "Israel doesn't have any oil." And then it came back and said, "Oh, you're right. Thank you for catching me on that. I did wrong. They don't have any oil." I said, "So why did you say that they did have oil?" Well, I made a mistake. I mean, if you don't know your stuff, you would actually go away thinking Israel's got oil. Yeah. If you don't know what your research, so you have to actually know your topic before you start researching it, because it might just throw out some stuff to you. It's not a quote. It's just they're hallucinating.
Well, that's why
making something up.
All of them have that caveat that not everything AI says is true.
And before someone calls in to try to correct Pastor Scott, Israel does not have oil right now. Yes, we know that they've found that big oil field out in the Gulf, and Israel's a part of that, but there's not a single drop of that oil that has come out of the ground yet. So
they haven't tapped it yet.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and now we're fighting with Turkey over who's actually Turkey's went, "Oh, that's all ours." Like, I'm sorry, you can't have the entire Med. Sorry, just not going to happen. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Turkey is the place to be watching. If you want to know what's going on in the world right now, watch Turkey. They keep their mouth shut, but all those churches that are named in Revelation, when we talk about Gog and Magog, all those places were originally in the land that we call Turkey today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and Erdogan's a maniacal madman. So,
yeah, for sure.
All right. So here's my question then. What is the biggest miscalculation, or what's the biggest lie that Americans have swallowed about Israel, would you say? And they think it's true.
That Israel controls the world. That's a big one.
That they are the aggressor and the problem for everything that's happening in the Middle East.
Yeah.
If you believe that they are the problem of all the problems that exist in the Middle East, and to the point that they are controlling everything, you think they're the problem actually for everything that's going on. And that is an old lie that gets told. I mean, think about this. 9/11 happens. 13 Muslims fly planes into the Twin Towers, kill 3,000 people, and within days, they're saying the Jews did it.
Yeah.
Because
one guy made an insurance decision at some point. It was like, it was his yearly insurance review, and he went, "Hey, terrorism's on the rise, and we don't have terrorism insurance. We should probably fix that." It was the annual insurance review. He did not go out 2 weeks before the attacks and suddenly decide to get insurance. His insurance guy went,
because he knew something.
Right. That's what they say. That's what they say.
So, but how is it possible that that things like that happen? So they are seen as the reason why the world has problems.
Yeah.
And that's the thing Hitler pushed. They're the problem of if we get rid of them, then we solve the nation's problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is a lot of what gets blamed on the Jews really should be blamed on God. What do you mean? Well, God promised to bless those people wherever they went. And so we look around and go, well, there's no way that group of people should be able to accomplish that. They must be doing something dirty. And you go, no. The guy sitting on the big throne said he was going to bless them wherever they went. Yeah. So they're being blessed. I'm sorry. You should probably get on board, because that's the way to receive those similar blessings. Yeah. So, yeah.
Back to that Spurgeon quote I was going to mention to you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is what Spurgeon said. And just to put this in context, Spurgeon speaking at the latter half of the 1800s. So there is no.
You're there.
There is not an Israel at this time. So Jews are just kind of wandering about Europe. This is what he said. He said, I think we do not attach enough significant importance to the restoration of the Jews. We do not think enough of it. But certainly, if there is anything promised in the Bible, it is this. I imagine that you cannot read the Bible without clearly seeing that there's an actual restoration of the children of Israel. Thither they shall go up, he's quoting a scripture, thither they shall go up, and they shall come with weeping and supplication unto Jerusalem. Oh, may that happy day soon come. For when the Jews are restored, then the fullness of the Gentiles shall be gathered in. And as soon as they return, Jesus will come upon Mount Zion and rule and reign in his glory, rule and reign gloriously. And the day shall come that when the Jews, who were the first apostles to the Gentiles, the first missionaries to us who were afar off, shall be gathered in again. Until that shall be, the fullness of the church's glory can never come. Matchless benefits to the world are bound up with the restoration of Israel. Their gathering in will be as life from the dead. Jesus is the Savior and the joy of all nations. But let not the chosen race be denied their peculiar share in whatever promises Holy Writ has recorded with a special view to them.
Amen and amen.
I mean, you think about it, this is a guy who, Israel was just a scattered bunch of vagabonds around the world.
Dysphoria.
But he knew from the scripture, he could say, if the Bible has promised anything, it is this. There'll be a restoration of the Jews, and it will be matchless benefits to the world, like life from the dead.
Because he saw it in the Word, and the Word is true.
Whatever God loves, the devil hates.
Yep.
And you just got to make a choice on decide what side you're going to be on.
Yep.
And if God loves Israel, then that is enough reason for us to love Israel as well.
I had to make that statement to someone the other day because they accused me of being overly in love with Israel. And I went, no, I'm overly in love with God, and God is overly in love with Israel. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to love what he's loving. And he picked them. For good or for bad, he picked them.
Let's take a break, then we'll come back and pick it up and have our last segment for this hour of the Dave Elswick Show.
All right, I figured out what's going on.
What is it?
This is your mic. So when I moved my arm forward and you went, everything.
All right, 7 minutes until 8 o'clock. Coming up in the next hour, Wayne will be here. Paul will be here, and we'll get together and try to solve the problems of the world. So stay tuned for that. Last question for you guys, and it's this. A good portion of this country says that you're Christian, all right? They believe in the Messiah, blah, 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 blah. However, when you talk to people about dying, they don't want to die and go to heaven. Is there a reason why that dichotomy exists within us?
They don't want to die and go. Well, there's only one other option, and you're going to like that a lot less.
Why
I
think are they not wanting to go to heaven?
I think they just don't want to die.
They don't want to die.
They just don't want to die.
You know, I mean, I always preface when people ask me about what do I think about death, I always say, well, I want to go peacefully while I'm asleep. You know, I'd like to just pass across the veil. I'd rather not be in a fiery car crash.
That reminds me of one of my favorite jokes, which is kid said, I want to die like my grandfather, peacefully in his sleep, not like his 4 passengers. So.
Yeah. That's a good one. All right. So That's my question. Why are Christians still so afraid with all the verses that are in the Bible? Why are we so afraid of death other than it's the great unknown?
Well, life is a gift, and we should cling to it for as long as God wants us to be here. But I think part of the problem there is it's really easy to identify, at least still in this country, as being Christian. Because just saying I'm a Christian does not make you a follower of Christ. And there's a significant difference. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. You've got a bunch of cultural Christians, or, I was born in the USA and therefore I am a Christian, rather than people who are actually following God.
I had a friend of mine, to your point, I had a friend of mine who was born and raised Muslim. He was Pakistani, and his dad was a major general, and he became a Christian. And of course, his family thought that he had lost his mind. They put him in a sane asylum, and he told me, he said, the sane asylum they put me in was a cage outside in the open.
Ooh.
And that's where he lived.
So people could go by and yell and scream at you and throw stuff at you.
And he finally was able to escape. And when he escaped, I forget what country he escaped to, but he found his way and he went immediately to the American embassy. And he was trying to get, it was back when Jimmy Carter was president, and he was trying to get in, but his main thing was he kept saying, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. He was telling everybody, I'm a Christian, because he thought you're either a Muslim
or Christian,
a Jew, or you're a Christian. Yeah. And so all nations that were not Muslim or Jewish were Christian nations, and everybody was Christian. Right. Okay. So it was just that cultural Christian thing. So he thought by saying that would allow him to get in. Of course, now he knows differently, and he's actually a worldwide evangelist now as well. But I think also, Dave, to your point, I think that the world we live, the life we live now is more real to us than the world to come.
Yeah.
And when the life you're living is more real than the world that is coming, you will cling disproportionately to this life. What you know. And of course, there are those who say, "Well, I'm secure in my eternity," and I think that that is where we all need to live. But we do live here, and when you live here, and your everyday is more natural based than it is spiritually based, unfortunately, you will tend to have more of affinity for this body that we live in. But the reality of the afterlife should be a great comfort to us. Yeah. And, what child wants to delay going to Disneyland?
Right.
None. So he's like, when are we there? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? It's always, how many more days do we go? How many more days do we go? Let's put a counter. Let's count it down.
Right.
But we're going to a place far better than Disneyland. I mean, and yet many people have an aversion to doing that. I think it's merely because it's not as real to us as what it should be. And the life we live is far too real.
Is it because we're not living out our faith in our reality?
That could certainly add to it. Yeah. And if you're not doing that, then you will tend to gravitate towards your natural carnal state.
Yeah, and that was where I was headed in my mind, is that we live in a country that is so easy to live in that we have a significant number of the pleasures of the flesh available to us all the time, right? The typical American is consuming more calories in any given day than what people 100 years ago even, and maybe you go back 150, we're consuming in a week because we have abundant access to everything. And when life is easy, life is pretty pleasant, and it's hard to turn your back on those things that are pleasant.
Plus you get fat, dumb, and happy.
Yep, there you go. Those are the words.
The scripture says that towards the end of time that what will happen is that men will become lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. And
we've kind of gotten there.
That's where we're at.
All right. We're out of time. And I thank you both for coming. Billy, great to have you here.
Yes, sir.
Scott, good to have you here.
You,
what time is it going to be Sunday that we're supposed to gather?
6 o'clock in the evening, 701 Napa Valley Drive, a night to honor Israel.
You might want to get there a little earlier than 6 o'clock. Get there about maybe 5:30 so you can get yourself a good
Doors
seat.
Open at 5:30 if you want to come in. We've got some entertainment that's playing on the walls. It's a flyover of the nation of Israel. It's beautiful. Starts at 5:30. It loops around, so if you want to get there 5:30, 5:45, you can grab a good seat.
All right. We're out of time. News is next, and then Wayne and Paul will be with me here on the Dave Elswick Show. All right, back with you, 8 o'clock hour of the Dave Elswick Show, 6 minutes after 8. And I've got Paul here, I've got Chris here, and I got Wayne here. They're all three here in the studio. And I want Wayne to start off because I knew what I was going to talk about today, and that was the convention that was coming up with the Arkansas Republican Party. And the last one that I went to was 2 years ago. That's the last one that was held. And to say that the party statewide didn't hold on to their principles was an understatement, I believe, of my own belief, and that's why I've pulled back a lot from being part and partial of the party. Not because I'm no longer a conservative. That's not the case. I'm even more of a conservative today than I was 2 years ago. But I want the people who are in charge to quit securing power for themselves because they want all the power.
You have seen the light.
Yeah, well, I've seen how they're acting, and I know how some of my friends felt that left previous to 2 years ago, and I'm sure that they were feeling the same way that I felt. And I'll just say that I can just make this statement. We had that state convention meeting, and I knew that the grassroots was going to rule because they're going to show up in force. Although the people who weren't part of the grassroots thought that they still had the numbers to show up for the party, and they didn't. They did not. And so I've been pushing for closed primaries since the day I crossed the Arkansas line from Missouri.
And they actually did it. They actually closed the primaries, after that convention.
Yeah.
Okay. They also, during this convention, they also went, and you remember we had another resolution that we proposed that we put on there that we wanted passed during that.
Move up on the mic there.
Pardon me?
Move up on the mic.
Okay. They also had.
There you go.
Kind of hear that now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
All right. Well, they also had another rule that during that convention in Rogers that we wanted anybody that ran for a Republican seat would have to be a Republican.
Have to see that they were a Republican.
That's right. We passed that in there, and that same one was all thrown out, right, with everything else. But whenever it got up there, that's the one rule that they put in this time because they knew it was pretty popular. There's no way you can't vote for that because we approved it already in the Rogers.
Right.
Well, let me tell you, there's some interesting things. I think there's been, they say that these counties broke the rules, but I can tell you it's one of those sneaky things. That one of the rules is that the counties are arguing that we didn't really know. They didn't know. A lot of people didn't know that the state convention was coming up, and they needed to do a county convention, right? So they're supposed to be notified by the state committee.
Okay.
That's part of the rules is you have to put out a notice to all of the county committee chairs that you need to hold a county convention, right?
Yeah, because you have to elect your delegates that are going to the state convention.
That's right. And then and several other things, the state committee man, state committee woman, and other positions. During that time. Well, you know what? I know for a fact that they were not, and then the chairs are supposed to notify the people. They're supposed to send out a notice to all of their committee members. I know there in Monroe County, I've been told that we have 30 some odd members. I know members that didn't get any notice at all. I was one of them that didn't get a notice. In fact is, I was told that night that they had canceled a meeting, They had canceled that meeting. I mean, I was told by one of the members that they canceled the meeting. And then they say they held the meeting when I walked into that state convention. Then I was told, I said, well, who's on that? And I started looking. There's some people on that list that I don't even know over there. Mm-hmm. I'm going, wait a minute. I hadn't seen these people in the meeting yet, right? Any county committee meeting, because they usually have about. And how did you even have a quorum? Because typically there's maybe 6 people that show up, sometimes 5. There's not enough.
What constitutes a quorum?
Yeah, well, it's I forget. So like, what is it for?
Is it 60% or something?
It's you got a certain numbers, 50 or 60%. You got to have it to make a quorum, or 25%, whatever that number is. I know it's not there because I checked it. Right, I know that we haven't met the quorum yet, and they're voting on delegates and everything else, and yet they had 4 delegates and 4 alternates. I said, well, how did you get all those people, right? And that thing, you just had to snatch people up and put them in positions, and I can tell you that happens with that chair right now. She's just picking people to put in positions rather than going through an election,
and that's illegal.
I've seen that sort of thing at the state capitol, where they will have a committee meeting, and it requires like 10 or 11 people to pass legislation out of the committee, and there's 6 people, six legislators there, maybe, or 7 or 8 maybe, but there's certainly not enough to actually pass anything.
Well, the thing is the Executive Committee is saying, well, so it says they didn't get their stuff in on time for delegates and everything else. Well, I recommend that if you didn't tell them, you broke the law too. You broke the rules as well, right? And you waited till the last minute to tell them instead of telling them way ahead of time, where they could propose any new rule changes. They had the one popular one that they proposed, right, which we already passed in Rogers.
So what is the solution so when the upper leadership fails to do their job?
Well, in my opinion, because I can assure you those 20 some odd counties that were basically banned from being in there, they weren't allowed to be in the thing. I guarantee you that if they had been seated, they would have been overwhelmed because they didn't have enough on the other side, and that other side is
what they did is they just discarded as much of the grassroots as they could get away with.
And that's what's happened. And I guarantee you, to me, in my opinion, I look at it and I said, both y'all are violating rules. Both sides are violating rules. And yet this, and because the one side, the grassroots side, is only violating rules, it's kind of like setting somebody up, frame them. That, in my opinion, that's what happened. Let me tell you something else that bothered me, Dave. You've always.
This is why I'm glad that Wayne went to the convention. He can give us a full.
Wore a suit. You know that?
Oh yeah, I know.
I
saw
wear a
you.
tie, but I wore a suit.
Yeah,
and I was very civil and maintained my civility and everything, just like you.
Well, you know what a tie is, don't you?
Just a rope.
Yeah, that when you cut it off, it means you have a little bit more freedom than you've been led around by your master.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, whenever I sit there and I see that the numbers are like that, and I see people that win anyway, like I did, well, I have suspicion some of this might be going on. So I went up there and I said, I'd like to be a guest. And they said, well, we don't have enough room. And that room was pretty empty. Mm-hmm. There were so many seats left in that room, it wasn't fine. And they still wouldn't let anybody in the room. They wouldn't let me in the room. And then I told them, I said, well, I'm with Dave Elswick show.
Yeah.
I want to go in and basically do monitor it and see what.
Here's his phone number. Call him.
And here's his phone number. I said, here's Dave's phone number. And they said, well, we're not going to recognize you. We're going to recognize Dave. Mike Weekline is the only one that we're going to recognize to be in there.
Look, I even sent a message to the person in charge with no reply.
Yeah.
For Wayne to get in.
Right.
And you know what? They wouldn't let me in.
So Salem Media. They do not want Salem Media in there. That's absurd to me.
But I'm going to sit right across the aisle there, and they opened the doors. I could see everything is going on. Plus, Kenny was, you know how Kenny does. He was over there videoing the whole thing. So I could sit out there. It doesn't matter if I'm in the room. I can see that, but I would like to be in the room where I could talk to some people.
Yeah.
You know, and interview them, see what was going on. I saw some things in there where people were holding. They were told that they brought up something and they were told to sit down, hush, basically shut up.
You're out of order.
You're out of order. That's not on the agenda, right? And in the state committee, everything is on the agenda, in my opinion.
Or should be.
I mean, that's where the people are actually coming in. They're doing their stuff. Well, to solve this problem, you know, we all know what the problem is. To solve this problem, we need to have some classes in the RPA. And I told this to several people in the past, is that we need a rules class to teach people, you know, the rules of the RPA. We need to, that way everybody understands what's up there, and then they don't break anything. They don't set somebody up. You know, you can see those things. And I've been in long enough that I can see some of these anomalies that come up. You know what's happening. You can see how they're acting. I saw them slip people in that didn't have a badge. I saw legislators going in that didn't have a badge, and they're patting on backs and telling the guy at the guards at the door says, "Oh, he's okay. Just let him in. He's so-and-so." And would let them in without a badge. And I'm sitting over there smiling, going, "Yo, right there in front of God and everybody."
What were how many counties were denied seating?
Oh, I forget. It was 20-something.
I think 26.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I think it was one county that
end.
they changed it on. They let them in, and they seated them.
And were they all the same reasons, or were they different reasons? Did they give reasons?
Well, they would say there were reasons, but a lot of them, the main reason was they didn't turn their names in time. Turn their names.
So doesn't that reflect on the RPA as a whole for not communicating with their counties?
That's basically.
It seems like if they all had the same issue,
right?
It's like dealing with the RPA at times is like dealing with the KGB.
Oh, trust me, I know. They don't even answer the phone.
Here's let me explain how that works. You've been someone came to the KGB and said, "I'm a spy."
Yeah.
And they take me and they question me and they question me and they question me and they don't let me sleep and they don't let me drink or anything. And they say, "Well, you're guilty," and they put you in prison. And then somebody finds some information that is non-disputable, that is absolutely true, and they show that to the KGB, and the KGB says, "Yep, yeah, he should be let out." And then they get ready to let you out, and the KGB agent pulls a gun and shoots me in the head. Mm-hmm. And they go, "Why did you shoot him in the head?" He says, "Because the KGB is never wrong."
That's the problem.
I wonder if they were all held to the same standard.
That's the problem. You're not,
right.
You know, and all pigs are equal, but some pigs are more equal than others.
And that's not I don't understand how can you continue to support an organization that is corrupt in that manner? I would stop giving my money to the machine, stop feeding the machine.
You do one or two things there, Val. You either wait till everybody dies, gets old and dies, or they have some problem, something like where they can't hold that office much longer. And I see, and the thing is God always tell you to be patient. Just be patient. And what happens is that I see these people that crowd is beginning to shrink.
Well, it should. I mean, that's what it only stops.
Yes,
you stop feeding
we
it.
We don't need to give up is what I'm trying to say. It's what I'm trying to say. We need to keep the pressure on. We need to keep these people on. You need to know the rules. If you know the rules, then you can argue this, just like I said. If they're not letting the people know ahead of time in the amount of time they're supposed to, which is specified in the rules, right? That's a violation of the rules.
Yeah. So did they give them an opportunity to cure it beforehand?
That's what I'm saying, is that they go back and they say, "Well, it says you didn't turn your stuff in on time."
Right.
Well, tell me exactly.
Why didn't you tell me we were having this meeting?
Yeah,
well, it would seem to me, Wayne, that given the past issues, that every county would make sure that they did things by the book. It seems like there's some self-sabotage going on.
Well, what's happening is that, like I said, both sides are guilty. The problem is that we have a lot of new people in the party that are in those chairman positions too, and they haven't been trained. They've just been kind of thrown into there. And
I'm sorry, but if I'm concerned that the party's going to not seat my people as they've done in the past, I'm going to make sure. I'm going to make sure that I follow the rules to the T.
You do, but you tend to.
But that's you. That wasn't them.
That's what I'm trying to say is that a lot of these. I know there's a lot of chairmen and even people that have been elected to positions in these county committees that haven't been trained. They don't know the rules. And I've got one right there and things. She says swears them down. She knows rules, but I can tell you lots of rules that she's broken. When you start choosing rather than electing the officers in a committee, you're violating the rules.
And that's sabotage to me.
Well, to me, it's working behind the scenes.
Well, it could just be incompetence, but the thing is,
26 counties can't be that incompetent.
Well, it could be incompetence, but I mean, a lot of people are incompetent. So what do you do going forward? What and how should it be handled when people don't follow the rules? Like in Saline County, were rules broken?
Yes.
If they were, do we decide, you know what, we just can't count those votes? Is that the solution?
There's actually a statute that says that you can go in and you can file as an unopposed county committee man. They were told we had a couple of people go in there, they were told that they could not register as a county committee man, unopposed county committee man, because they didn't have a thing yet. So they waited until after the filing period, and that's when they started they said, well, we don't have a committee yet. You don't have to. You still run as a thing, and as soon as the committee comes up, you're automatically a county committee man. You don't have to be voted in.
Mm-hmm. You can register.
But I mean, that's in the state statute, right? And you're basically blocking ballot access. That's the same thing. It's the same thing as whenever they raise double the filing fees, you're blocking ballot access. When you go in there and say, well, you got to have all the jump through hoops and loops and everything else to get something on the ballot, you're blocking ballot access.
All right. Taking a break. We'll be back in a moment here on the Dave Elswick Show. All right, back with you. It is 26 minutes after 8. We'll go until 9 o'clock here on the Dave Elswick Show. So it was just more of the same that we saw back in 2024 then.
That one at Rogers.
Yeah.
It's basically the solution to this, Paul, is like I said, we all know what the problem is. Our next conversation should be about solutions, viable solutions, and how do you fix this problem? Because everybody knows the rules and knows the processes.
Or think they know the rules.
Well, if everybody knows the rules or taught the rules, right, and they make sure that they're taught the rules, what the rules are, and you have almost like you having a parliamentarian in every county, right? They're depending on people not knowing the rules. That's exactly what it is. So they can set you up. They can do anything they want to.
And that's a shame because those are your members paying dues.
Exactly. And
like that's insane to me.
That
ought to be. Do they get their money back?
Huh?
Do they get their money
right.
back?
Well, they do if they don't go in. I'm sure there's a lady sitting next to me I talked to during the whole committee meeting or the whole convention. She said to me, she says, they won't let me in. Says, I should be in there as a delegate.
So when did that stop being public? I mean, it used to be open to the public. When did that stop?
That's what I'm saying. They
probably when Sarah took it.
Even in Rogers, they had a whole section in the back of chairs
for the public,
for visitors.
Okay. Yeah, because I think I went to it years ago, and I wasn't a member of the Republican Party.
And you got to go.
Yeah, I went in, but that was back when the party was a lot smaller. Back when the Democrats still held.
That was also probably back when Arkansans ran it.
And even I went to a state committee meeting, which is not the convention, but a state committee meeting up there at one of the hotels here. And they had plenty of seats in there, but they were still saying we don't have enough room. Right? We don't have enough room for visitors. And I'm going, this is some, excuse my French, BS. It is. Now I'm talking like right now. You know I'm pretty docile on most things. I try to remain under the covers and I'll just talk thing. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm seeing some stuff that's disturbing. I mean, really disturbing. And some of the people that I know that actually supported Sarah Huckabee 100% when she first got elected, they're having voter remorse. I mean, some of these people are pretty popular, and we all know some of them. And I'm having first conversations. Said, man, they're not. That's not the person. In fact, they're telling me that she's worse than Asa was. And I'm going, y'all, that's disturbing. I'm afraid that is that going to spill over into the other candidates, the other Republican candidates thing, and cause them to be a problem, especially those that are supporting her right now. They're adamant supporting her. And whenever I see just like Ron Caldwell, you know, and what's his name up there in that area that they were going to put the prison in.
Okay, up in Franklin County.
King.
Yeah. Ryan King,
and some of the other people think when I start seeing that stuff, and believe me, other legislators are seeing that too.
All right, we got to take a break. We got news coming up. When we come back, we'll pick it up again. There's more issues to talk about, not just about the state committee, but they had the same thing happen. It sounds like to me this year that happened 2 years ago. We'll be back to talk about more of it after the news. All right, back with you on the Dave Elswick Show, 8:34 on a Monday, and we want to welcome you to the show. If you just joined us, I'm going to suggest that after the show is done and it gets posted to one of the main groups, you know, whether it's X or Rumble or whichever place that we put the show, that you listen to that first half hour. Yeah, you'll learn a lot in that first half hour and why some of the things that are going on, why they're going on. All right, just so you know. All right. So, was there anything, Wayne, major that was talked about in past that
was anybody killed? Everybody got out of there alive, and for the most part,
did they pass any new rules?
Just the one rule, and that was the one popular rule that we talked about before.
That you have to be a Republican to run as a Republican?
And run as a Republican, which is a common sense rule.
What a tough rule.
But,
did they talk about the filing fees, changing anything regarding the governors or Senate
anything
filing fees?
Come up like that, they tried to, the grassroots tried to introduce some issues, and they were shut down.
Of course they were.
Pretty quick. I mean, they wouldn't allow anything, and people were saying, I'm wasting my time and my money to come up here to even be in this meeting. Now, when I start hearing that, that's concerning to me. That tells me that the Republican Party is losing its and the only thing they're doing is they're hurting themselves, because if this gets out about some of the stuff that's going on in that Republican Party here in Arkansas, I'm concerned that it's really going to affect them. It's going to affect some elections. There's going to be some flipping going on.
But Wayne, you can still vote for people without being a Republican.
Sure you can.
So, I mean,
that's what
the thing is that you just get access to the candidates, and you can only be a candidate. And they know that that's the only parties that people vote for. But I think this election is going to change that.
Maybe not. But Val, I think part of the issue is that we've got a lot of people a lot of voters are not really very diligent. So they just look, well, Republican Party is more in line with my ideology. And so they would just are along the whole ballot. And that's a problem.
Yes.
And personally, I think it would be better not to have the R on the ballot,
or not have any designation.
That's what I'm saying. Not have any designation at all, and let the parties do their thing, and let the independents do their thing, and make everybody collect signatures.
But then people vote for somebody just because they like their name.
That's because the voters are stupid, and that's a problem we have.
Some of that happens to the the money that comes in. You have a lot of dark money that's coming from out of state. A lot of dark money.
That's kind of an interesting issue too. I mean, what do you do? Because we still want free speech. I mean, anybody and everybody should be allowed to engage in speech, which is what we're talking about.
Yes, that's freedom of speech issue. I agree.
And so what do you do? I mean, I think you could make the argument that corporations should be banned from engaging in political activity at all. Well, I think you can make that argument because they're not humans.
I know it's not. It's a First Amendment right.
And
their names can't be revealed, right? If you donate to a independent expenditure committee or you donate to a PAC, well, right now the ruling is that from the Supreme Court is basically that's a First Amendment issue. They get to keep their anonymous status. Well, the thing is that what happens is that, and I watch the dynamics, is that candidates will donate to each other. They'll donate to you. Will donate to my campaign. I'll donate to your PAC.
Right.
You donate to my PAC, and eventually that's how they get money. These big war chests on the front end. Is that you do that? But the other thing is, I started looking at the reporting on the independent expenditure committees as well as the PACs, and you start looking at the dynamics there, and you start seeing, like for instance, the one that I looked at was down in Saline County, and it actually had the in-state donations were like just a few $1,000s, but when I looked at the out-of-state donations, it was like $80,000. Well, I want to know who those out-of-state people are out there that are
they have so much interest in Saline County politics
over our elections, right? Why should somebody have that much influence over? And they don't even they're not held accountable. They're not any accountability, and they don't have a reputation. So basically, they're putting their money in, and they're trying to buy representation, not just for that district. That the who's ever elected in there, that's why they elect people to represent them, not somebody from out of state.
So how do we deal with this on a principled basis, though? So when you're engaging in speech, there's the potential for slander issues or libel issues, and someone needs to be accountable for those lies. So generally in campaign literature, you have to put down paid for by somebody.
Because the New York Times versus Sullivan, which we talked about when Richard Friend sued a couple of folks, it literally dictates when you're a public official, it's very hard to win a case like that.
Well, and that's just kind of silly, but
that's
it's not silly. It's not silly.
No, I'm saying the courts have made up some silly rules. Which are
but you have to look at it from the other end of it. Is somebody can say you're lying, take you to court to silence you just because they don't want to hear what the truth that you're saying about them.
Well, then the courts are supposed to be there to figure out what the truth is. I mean, if I say I'm a giraffe, well, obviously that's not true. It's also not harmful.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
One thing I've learned,
but the thing is, the nature of libel or defamation is what we're talking about. Is that it's got to be harmful and untrue, and that a lot of times you can generally discover
how long
that.
Do court cases typically take?
And that's another problem.
Is
long
that,
drawn out
that's
court,
your main
court cases.
That's your main issue.
And that's
that in election time,
yeah,
you can have all the evidence in the world, and you could win the case easy. Especially when you say, well, if you knew about it, how come you didn't turn it in? And you weren't a police officer. How come you didn't turn it in? And then on the other thing says, okay, you had that the what do you say, sexual harassment suit or sexual harassment complaint against things, says you were supposed to turn it in. You turned it into HR. And how long has it been since it's been in HR? Something's up, folks. Better wake up. And the problem is that whenever you have somebody sue somebody, then you have to provide evidence and everything, just like Paul was talking about. But the issue is that how long is a court case for liability, and also can the judge put it down on the docket? He can move it down
and that's the problem too. Is that one of the when Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt, one of the early problems that he had was judging the people. He was judging them himself. And so one of the solutions to that was, let's appoint more judges. And he appointed just gobs and gobs and gobs of judges to solve that issue. Right now, we have massive backlogs and court cases take an incredibly long period of time, which is not justice. You can't have justice because, okay, you got somebody that's violated someone else, and before the case can get settled or figured out, the person dies of old age.
Or they sit on death row because our governor refuses to set an execution date.
And that's a problem too. And
that's a huge problem.
Right. And so some of that is just
we know what the problem is, Paul. Like I said before, we know what the problem is. Our next conversation needs to be about solutions.
The problem is that only people who pay very close attention like us know these things. The average voter, we're not reaching them. And I hear you when you say they're stupid. I don't know that they are. I believe that they are ignorant.
They've got other things going on.
They're busy.
They're either
people have busy
have
lives.
apathy. They're just apathetic about it.
Right.
It says, "It's no use. They're going to elect whoever they want to anyway."
Right.
And trying to get somebody up there, and some of them are frustrated. Some of them just quit and go on. That's what I'm saying. You can't quit if you're going to win. You'll never win if you quit.
Right.
Okay.
But you can't keep feeding the machine.
Yeah, but the thing is that sometimes you have to sacrifice a little something to get something.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying is that you actually, whenever you come in and you may not have the money and things like that, okay, but you can still go up there and run as an unopposed county committee man by state law.
Right.
Okay. Pay thing. You can still become a thing of that, and you pay whatever the filing fee is. Now, once you get the numbers up, then guess who gets to change the rules? Guess who has the votes? And that's just it.
Unless somebody comes in and swoops in and says, I'm going to run.
Until you have somebody like happened in the Rogers instance up there in Rogers, Arkansas, that says, we're basically throw everything out because you violated this rule. And they can't give you a specific on exactly how you violated that rule.
I think that the IRS needs to take a look at their.
There is no limits. That there's no due process that I saw.
They need to take a look at the IRS needs to take a look at their nonprofit status. I think that's.
You got to understand the dynamics are balanced because what happens is guess who's on their side. Even if the IRS got in there and lose it, guess who's over the IRS?
Well, then you just stop giving it money. You stop being a member and you stop paying dues until they fix the machine.
You got to still.
It's broken.
But you got to be.
I think most people don't know it's broken. Don't
if
see it that way.
If 26 counties were not seated because of the same thing, that is a broken system.
I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you on that.
And why would you keep giving them money?
But I don't. The thing is that giving them money sometimes buys you something else. It's just like it's all like politics. Is that if you get your numbers up to where you have the vote, eventually you get the numbers up to where you have a vote that they the other side, the establishment side.
So how long do you have to wait for that? It's been 4 years now.
God told us to be patient. He told us to just just be patient. The truth will come out.
The reality is that the Republican Party here in Arkansas was very, very weak for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the fact is that some of these older folks in the Republican Party who are trying to retain some of their power, that they built the party for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm sympathetic to that because the thing is they put in the hard work.
But you don't break the rules to maintain power.
Mm-hmm.
You don't break the rules. You don't try to diss all the people that are trying to think, because everybody that I know that I talked to that had joined that party in that time when we went to Rogers.
Yep.
They were very conservative. They actually knew what the platform was, knew what the principles were, knew what our values and our morals were in the party. And let me tell you something, they were shooting them down. Transparency is one of the biggest issues.
So I think one of the problems in organizations is that, especially when they're small, and even when they're not small, that traditions end up taking over and rules don't really matter. It's just like, this is how we do it. Like, for instance, in the state legislature, they were passing bills with the emergency clause with a single vote. That was in violation of the Arkansas Constitution.
I agree with you.
But the thing is, it was a tradition. Nobody questioned it. Nobody cared for 100 years or whatever it was.
Let me tell you something. These guys that go up there as representatives, they've got 2 years, right? And especially a novice or freshman goes in there. He's spending the first year just trying to find the bathrooms. He's finding a place to eat and find a bathroom, find out where the committee rooms are at and that sort of thing, right? He's kind of like a freshman in college. He's running around with his head chopped off or cut off just about. And if he can survive freshman year, usually he makes it to the next year, right? And especially if he just kind of goes along with everything, it's called get along to win. So cooperate and graduate. Remember that in college? Mm-hmm. Yeah, cooperate and graduate. You get along with the instructor, you're gonna pass. Don't worry about it.
Right. So how do you deal with that? Because I think it's extremely common for rules to not be followed. That's just how we do it. And there's a rule book.
Well, why wouldn't the RPA want the committees and send them, like I've ran a nonprofit before with members, right, of 3,000 members, and you send out reminders. You want your membership to vote. You want your membership to know what their state chapters are doing. Like you want them to be educated.
Well, what's the first thing you do when you go to work for a company? They hand you what they call a policy book. Here's our policy
orientation
for the employee policy book, right? And you read that thing. It's just like, you remember that little book that I gave you way back there that gave us our platform and principles and our morals and everything? Remember
you're talking about the one that Webb had printed up.
That Dole Webb come up with that. Yeah. Okay. And he printed it out, and I thought that's a great thing because that's the thing you hand out to everybody.
Yeah, you can put your platform right there in their hand.
And I remember buying cases of these books and handing them out. And somebody said, why you want a case? I said, well, why do you want to buy so many? I said, because I want everybody to know what the Republican Party stands for. I want them to know what our principles are. I want them to know what our platform is. I want them to know what our values and our morals are, because that's the way you educate people.
But when you're not seating your delegates, it's literally like saying your county committee doesn't exist. Because you're not allowing them to vote. You're not allowing them to have their input that they deserve.
Yes, Val, but what happens is that they use that excuse, well, you didn't get your stuff in on time. Well, when did you notify me that I need to get it in on time? Right? Says, I'm kind of new at this position. It'd be nice if you kind of let me know.
It's not hard to read, though.
Where they know what it is, and you just say, "Don't tell Wayne."
Well, I don't think that you solve any of this until there's a place to go to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's no place to go to solve it.
Well, there is, and that's when you come
stop
in and
paying them. You stop giving them your money.
Yeah, I can tell you that if you're going to win anything in this thing, you got to get on the inside. You basically go in the inside, and you have to understand everything about it. You have to understand the rules. You have to understand the dynamics or the people in there. You have to understand the landscape, the political landscape that's in there. Who are the players? You have to understand, know the rules, know the players, know the landscape. If you understand those things and you're on the inside and you're teaching those things to patriots, they know exactly what's going on. These are patriots that are conservative Republicans. They believe when I hand them that book, you know what they said? Thank you, Wayne. You give us a standard to go by. And I said, here's another one, your Constitution, and I'll let you get your own Bible.
All right, take a break, and then we'll come back and finish it up for a Monday here on the Dave Elswick Show. When we come back, I want to talk about the man who's running for sheriff in Lono County. They dropped a murder charge against him. They dismissed it. We'll talk about that race here in just a moment on the Dave Elswick Show. All right, so let's change the topic, and let's talk about Aaron Spencer, who had been charged with second-degree murder in the October 24th killing of Michael Fosler, 67, who had been charged with sexually abusing Spencer's 13-year-old daughter. Well, a judge dismissed the murder case against Spencer after ruling that the Lono County Sheriff's Office mishandled evidence. Law enforcement's conduct was, quote, so egregious, unquote, that it warranted the dismissal, Special Circuit Judge Ralph Wilson Jr. said in his ruling. So now that has been taken and knocked aside. Aaron now can run for sheriff and not worry that if he's elected that he'll have any problem taking over the position. So
also, Dave, the lead detective who was handling the evidence has been let go.
Yep.
That happened on Friday.
Investigator's been fired too.
okay, so did they say why they let him go?
Because Detective Robbie McCain's employment had been terminated one day after a judge dismissed the second-degree murder charge against Spencer. McCain served as a lead investigator in this case stemming from October 2024. The termination follows a scathing ruling by Judge Wilson, who dismissed the case. Staley had confirmed McCain's termination. No official statement has been released detailing the specific reasons.
Yeah, no transparency yet.
John Staley fired him. I mean, that's the only person that fires.
And who's running against?
Right.
Well, Staley's done. Staley's not running.
And people are saying he got fired
right.
too, but I'm sorry, he's a sheriff. You can't fire him. Like, that's an elected position.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the sheriff didn't get fired, but the sheriff's deputy.
But as far as an investigator, he's no longer an investigator.
Right.
He was terminated.
Right.
His
So
employment was terminated.
this was an interesting case. This man apparently was defending his daughter from a guy who was actively kidnapping her. So
Because there was a trial the next day.
I don't what was there a was there
Yes,
a hearing
there was a trial. His trial was
that-
coming up, and
Oh, you're talking about the guy that he shot?
yes,
Fossler, yeah.
yes.
So-
you
so-
really think he was going to bring her back?
Yeah, so apparently Fossler had kidnapped Spencer's daughter, Aaron Spencer's daughter,
And she was only witness.
and Aaron Spencer
She's
goes out looking for his child, finds the man with her
In the middle of the night, mind you.
right at night, and the guy ends up dead. I mean,
And then that guy started fighting with
so
Spencer.
just think about this. Is there any father out there who would think, you know what, I probably shouldn't hurt this guy who's kidnapped my daughter?
No.
Is there any father
Or mother.
Do you want men walking around that want to think, you know, I probably shouldn't hurt this guy. I need to wait for the police to get here. And, you know, he might get away with my daughter, but I just need to wait for the police. No, this is America, for crying out loud. Do you let criminals go when they kidnap your kids?
You're gonna get some
No,
political.
the reality
pushback
is
on
this is America. I mean, even if it was vigilante justice, was it justice or not?
Right.
I mean, for crying out loud.
Well, I mean, the law says that if you molest a child under the age of 13, you can get the death penalty. So
well, that's the thing, though, is that I'm sorry, it is righteous for a man to go meet God if he kidnaps your kids.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm proud of the fact.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it is righteous. It is morally upright for him to get the death penalty.
It's actually this that we have a problem in our country where we are having a problem figuring out who the victim is, or some people are figuring out who the victim is and who the perpetrator is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the major issue is people, oh, he's a victim, he got shot. Well, why did he get shot? Was he doing something stupid? You know,
Did
like
he kidnap someone's
kidnapping
child?
a daughter or
Yeah, I mean,
raping
that
somebody?
seems like
Yeah.
a very reasonable.
They try to make the criminals the victim.
I
And
don't
that's
know
the
that
problem.
anybody doesn't believe in the fact that that was the best thing that could happen there.
Sure.
That-
And the vigilante justice issue, that is a real issue. But at the end of the day, do we want to make it illegal for justice to be carried out? Do we want to punish people for doing something that was actually righteous and upright?
And taking your daughter for a boat ride?
Now, if he had actually murdered somebody, if it wasn't justifiable, then he should be prosecuted and found guilty, I
Let me
suppose.
tell you
But
something. What had happened, just like Val was talking about, what if that girl had been taken somewhere and killed and dropped off in a ditch somewhere?
and she was the only witness.
She was the only witness, right?
Sure.
What had happened then? You say, well, we have to wait till she does it. That's folks,
You
I don't
can't-
care who
No,
you
you
are.
don't-
You have to wait till she's dead.
You don't have to wait till the kidnapper commits murder
Yeah,
to engage.
that's exactly right. The thing is that he tried to do it and he got in a fight with the guy, right? The guy was very
Right.
adamant. And then that's whenever he got his rear end, got a bullet in him.
Okay, I got to jump in and say we're out of time. And we got news coming up here in about 30 seconds. Hope that you get something out of it that you can use. Paul, Chris, Wayne, thanks for coming in. Wayne, especially, thanks for coming in and bringing us up to date. What went on with the convention, bringing that up to us. And that whole Spencer Aaron saga If you don't understand it, Google it. There's plenty of newspaper articles from all kinds of places for you to read. All right, we're out of time. Let's get to the news here on the Dave Elswick Show.
I ate dinner with Spencer and